how do you bond with people? How do you form relationships?
The older generation has had to accept where we are with technology.
I think it has the power to unite different generations.
The natural thing for anybody to feel when you talk about bringing in technology is, are they trying to get rid of me? I'm Stephen Ward. I'm Managing Director of Clerksroom. We're Barristers Chambers, working throughout England and Wales. The unique thing about Clerksroom is all our barristers work from home. And so we've been a sort of technology-first business for the last 25 years now.
So I'm Kaylin. I'm originally from Singapore, but I moved to the UK to do my undergraduate degree. So I did business with a minor in Japanese at the University of Birmingham. And then I got a job on the technology graduate scheme at a Scottish bank. So then I moved up to Edinburgh for that job.
In your opinion, how will technology influence the future of work?
What has happened over the last 12, 18 months is that people have realised the role of technology in business.
To be honest, this is something that I think has been around for at least 2 millennia.
The last 12 months have taught us that actually, people are quite innovative naturally.
Like there's always new technology, like the Industrial Revolution with trains and everything. So that's already happened before. This actually isn't something new.
The natural thing for anybody to feel when you talk about bringing in technology is, are they trying to get rid of me?
It would influence us the same way it has influenced us in the past.
What you have to say is no. I'm trying to make your life easier.
But I think what's most important is to just be curious about new things rather than just keep thinking about how technology is going to affect your jobs or affect your lives.
Is technology affecting our working relationships today?
Definitely.
I'm sure they said the same when you invented the steam engine.
So I think right now at the workplace, online messaging services and video calls, they're quite common nowadays, and it makes it easier to reach out to people.
The reality is that the technology is not the thing that changes your relationship.
So, for example, at the bank I'm working at, the headquarters is in Edinburgh, but we have a lot of employees in London as well.
I find, personally, it's purely the mental block on how to use the technology.
So a lot of times when we have meetings, we also have a Zoom version as well, so people can dial in to the meetings. So this makes collaboration easier.
And now I realise that actually I can meet far more people and have far better conversations because I'm sat at my desk prepared.
And also you can just ping people on Skype or Teams, those kind of messaging platforms. So it's quite easy to get answers very quickly.
The relationship is the same. I think whether you're sat in a board meeting, you've still got to think about it and be respectful for others. And it's the same on a Zoom meeting.
I think in the first place, to connect just means forming relationships. It doesn't actually mean you have to have face-to-face interaction.
But obviously what it gives us is the flexibility. And I'm having conversations with people all around the world now.
That's at its very core. Connecting is just, how do you bond with people? How do you form relationships? And I think actually technology is just the way that we form connections with people.
Does it affect our relationship? The answer is yes. But you've got to be really careful to make sure it's a positive effect, not a negative effect, because I think it's very easy for it to go either way.
It's like, why see it as replacing face-to-face interaction? Why not see it as an extra way of forming connections with people?
How does technology affect the generation gap in the workplace today?
It's all very simple to look down on junior staff and say, well, this is, I'm the boss, you're the junior, this is the way we do things.
I think it has the power to unite different generations.
But I think the pandemic is showing people that you can work remotely, you can work from home, and that's empowering young people to think very carefully about what their role is.
I guess if the company dictates that this is the platform of choice, employees must use it. Actually, everyone has to use it, whether you're old or young.
I speak to people who say, well, I'm interested in a job, but I do want to go traveling for 6 months.
So in that sense, Everyone uses it, you're united under one platform.
And you have to say, well, okay, how are we going to work that out? How are we going to fit that in?
The one is that new technologies like AI, big data, those fancy ones, it creates jobs and teams that didn't exist before.
I think young people have benefited from the pandemic.
These so-called like old people, which I'm guessing at 50s, 40s, 50s and above, they don't understand how it works. But actually, you'll be surprised, they're quite knowledgeable.
Benefited because the older generation has had to accept where we are with technology and that it's moved on.
I think when those technologies were in their infancy stages, they were there. And as it became more famous and like more people started to know about it, they grew along with that.
As soon as everybody was forced to work from home, we haven't seen any dip in productivity. In fact, we've seen a rise in productivity.
Whereas actually Gen Z, because we've just started working, we've just entered the workforce, I think actually we are the ones who don't actually know how those technologies work.
It's the younger generation who, you know, A, they're happier with flexible working, but B, they seem to be the people that are actually asking to come in the office more.
So unless you've had that work experience, you wouldn't actually really know, whereas the older generations, they are quite familiar with it.
Maybe it's because they need that collegiate atmosphere and the learning from peers around you, whereas the more mature people, should we say, in the office are quite happy to just be on their own and get on with what they know they need to do.
Being Gen Z, when you go into the workforce, you can really start working alongside the older generations and learn about the technology. So it really unites everyone.
What challenges come with the increasing use of technology in the workplace today?
Technology is so fast-paced and there's so many things that's going on all the time. Sometimes you might feel a bit lost and you might not know exactly what to do.
Teams and Microsoft Office and things expanding at such a fast rate. The whole interconnectivity of different systems, that was what was holding us back 18 months ago.
Depend on how adaptable they are. There are some more people that are quite adaptable and they learn things very quickly.
I've been speaking to people who work for, you know, some major organizations, and, you know, whereas they've been spending years probably trying to convince the board that there was uptake and that they should invest in it, all of a sudden there's no need to convince anymore.
But I think the good thing about being Gen Z is because we grew up with so many types of social media, it's, I guess, easier for us maybe to switch and to learn how different platforms work.
What can be a downside of technology in the workplace? I think it's my only answer to that question is using it badly.
In accounting, let's say, or law, which is they're quite traditional fields, I think, and it's like people teach you this is how it's done. You can't really change things.
They're rolling out stuff that staff aren't properly trained to do. You need to give support. You need to give people time to learn, to change, to adapt.
Because there is so much technology and there's so many companies and providers. Basically, you're spoiled for choice in a way, but at the same time, everyone uses different things, which can make the company a bit inefficient and there can be confusion.
We've introduced some robotics into the office, and people go, "Oh, you're just trying to get rid of me." You go, "No. Well, what we've actually done is reduced a 20-minute process to a 1-minute process. And actually, what we're going to do is reduce everybody's hours and give you a bit more time back."
That if you're in a large organization, the company might have different platforms.
I think the challenge that technology brings is the younger people who understand it, but it's the older people who have to implement it and make the decisions on it.
They get confused and it's quite hard actually to have everyone use one single platform. It's quite hard actually, because it's not as simple as management says this, everyone uses this.
The bigger your business is, the harder it is to make the changes.
Platforms within the company, it's very confusing and there's no consistency. So everyone uses different things.
It is difficult. I mean, you know, people keep saying to me, "How have you managed to achieve what you've achieved?" And I say, hard work and commitment and getting your staff on board. It's tough.